Hello, and welcome to God Calling Vocation Vibes, conversations with the Little Sisters of the Poor and special guests on the topic of vocations. You know, soon we are going to be celebrating, the Universal Church is going to be celebrating World Day for Grandparents and the Elderly. It was established by Pope Francis several years ago, and in honor of that occasion, we are going to highlight today the wisdom of our elders in regard to vocations. My name is Sister Carolyn, and I'm very happy to introduce three residents of the home where my sisters and I serve in Connecticut. This is Marge Golus. And Marge worked at the Little Sisters of the Poor for a number of years as the activity director. She was wonderful at making hearts happy. She would spare no effort to rejoice the hearts of the elderly. But Marge's big claim to fame, in my view, is that she is the mother of a priest. And she's going to talk a little bit about that today. So, Marge Golus, and here is Brother Jeffrey Herman. Brother Jeffrey is a missionary of the Holy Apostles, and we did talk about religious brothers in one of our other podcast episodes. It was called Brothers to All. But Brother is a missionary of the Holy Apostles from the seminary in Cromwell, and we are fortunate to have him as a resident in our home, and he will have some reflections to offer as well on vocations, and his vocation specifically, and brotherhood. And I have Dot Snyder with us. Dot is mother of the family, a devout, wonderful Catholic Christian woman, loves Jesus a lot, and also has a passionate love for the young people who come to visit our home. We have them very frequently, college students, young adults, little children, and Dot just is amazing with them, and she will have some thoughts to share as well about her advice to them and the beauty and the value that she sees in how they live their young Catholic lives. The email address for our podcast, in case there are questions or comments, is LSPUSA-Podcasts@gmail.com. And now we will go ahead with our discussion. So, Marge, I'm going to start with you. Can you talk a little bit to the people who have joined us about what it's like to be the mother of a priest?
Well, I'm very happy and I'm very proud. I'm very happy because this year, my son will be 43 years a priest, still as happy and still as enthusiastic as he was the day he got ordained. And it's so good to see him happy and doing the work that he loves to do. He loves people, and he's always got little stories about the people that are in his parish.
And he is actually the pastor of the cluster of churches in our area which form one parish called Jean-Jugan, St. Jean-Jugan Parish. St. Jean-Jugan is the foundress of the Little Sisters of the Poor, and we're so honored to have the parish named after her. And Father, whose mother is with us, is the pastor of those parishes, and the people just love Father John. So, Marge, flowing from that, if we or the people who are engaging with this podcast should see a young man who seems to have the qualities that maybe God might be calling him to be a priest or a brother, there seems to be something special about him. You sense maybe he might have the call. What are some things that we could do, that you could do, that we could do?
First of all, I would encourage him to make sure he doesn't just put that feeling aside, to go talk to his parish priest. Remind him that his parish priest went through the same thing, thinking about it, but he ended up being a priest. But it doesn't matter. Just don't forget that little voice that's telling you to do something. And then, if you get the transcript, turn to page 21. There's a beautiful article on our vocation director, and that will help you also. And contact him. He's a very nice person, and he'll help you decide what you'd like to do.
And the Transcript is the Archdiocese of Hartford's regular publication. But wherever you are, wherever you're engaging with this podcast, you can turn to your local vocations office or the publications that come from that office, and don't hesitate to reach out, because there are qualified and holy people welcoming you and happy to help you to discern your call. So next, Brother, let's go to you. Brother Jeff, as I mentioned, is a missionary of the Holy Apostles. And Brother, I'd like to ask you to tell people what drew you to your vocation to religious brotherhood.
Well, I got out of school in 1960, and I really didn't have I just came to Holy Apostles in Cromwell just for a visit. It was just strictly for a visit, an afternoon visit, and I just more or less fed on the people there. And I've said this before, they took me underneath their wing, the fellows there. They were all older, much older than people than I was. I was only 16, and the people there, they were 45, 50 years old. And I personally felt that it was just something, I found a home. It was a home for me. It was a home, and I enjoyed the work that I did. I weeded the gardens. I also worked in the office, stuff of that nature. And then so many years, they put me on the switchboard. That was an experience in itself, too. So, I mean, we've had a lot of experiences in our lives. But, I mean, basically, that's how it started. It just started by coming there I mean, I didn't go there thinking I was going to become a religious or anything, but I just felt that this was going to be my home, and I just wanted to, become a brother with the community.
So if I understand correctly, excuse me, go ahead.
So, I mean, and that's basically it. I mean, I wasn't hit by God. I mean, maybe that's a calling in itself. That is a calling in itself. It really is. I mean, I didn't hear any voices or anything else like that. God didn't hit me over the head and say, look, we want you to do this, and that's it. And no matter, I just made a home out of the place. But after a while, I just got to a certain age where I couldn't, I had to move on with my life, and so that's why I chose the Little Sisters of the Poor.
Yes. And if I understand correctly, you started out, you were volunteering with the brothers, you were weeding in the garden, and you just saw something about their spirit, and they were so welcoming. Then you got a job with them, and you just felt so at home with them that their spirit of welcome helped you realize that this was what God was calling you to. And God so often acts that way. We know in our hearts at home. We know the spirit of welcome that is offered us by the priests, the brothers, the sisters, the consecrated community that God is calling us to. He gives us little signs in our hearts, and we feel that attraction, and we feel that invitation. And no, we don't get an email from God, but He uses signs, and He uses the feelings of our heart to draw us to the vocation that He has planned for us.
That's correct.
And we are so blessed, brother, as you've moved on in life, as you say, and are still living your religious brotherhood, but in need of more physical support. We're so happy that you're able to be with us, Little Sisters of the Poor, because you are a radiant light in our home. And you were good on the switchboard, but you're our moving switchboard around the home, giving joy wherever you go. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and Dot Snyder. Dot, Pope Francis has passionately said that the young and the old really need to get to know each other and to bond, spend time with each other, learn from each other. And as I mentioned, we often have college students and young adults at our home doing service projects or volunteering in one way or another. And so you have an opportunity to be with them often. And I wondered, what is your impression of the young people today?
I think they're absolutely wonderful. The young people that I have met, they genuinely come to help us. They care about us. And, you know, at that young age, it amazes me. They also, but mostly it's because they have tremendous faith in God. And that's, I think, what keeps them going. They love us. They want to take care of us. And I think they're beautiful. I really, really love them.
So we've engaged in dance parties and carnival and all different kinds of things. And it just never ceases to amaze me how the young people know right away instinctively how to relate with our residents, even if they haven't really related with grandparents or other elders in their lives. There's something about their beautiful hearts that just enables them to know how to bond. Yes. And soon we're going to have a pool party. It's coming up, and Senior Olympics, it's going to be combined, and we're going to have a DJ and have the young people mix with the residents and do the splash and the games and really have a good time. And once again, you'll see Dot engaging in conversation, as our other residents do. But Dot, when I see you in these conversations with the young people who come, what are some of the kinds of advice that you give them? I always wonder and kind of wish I could be a fly on the wall right over where you are. What kinds of advice do you give them?
I tell them how proud I am of them, that they are following God. They're going in the right direction, and it's so obvious, and that they should continue, because that's exactly what God wants them to do, follow Him all the days of their lives. And they agree with me. They truly love God, and they're absolutely beautiful.
And that's interesting that you say you're so proud of them. I love that, because it's kind of maternal or grandmotherly.
Yes.
They're not your flesh and blood, but you're so proud of them.
Yes.
And we, all of us at the Little Sisters, our whole family, our resident sisters and everyone in our family are so proud of today's young people. We are so proud of today's beautiful, vibrant, faith-filled young people. And the world needs your witness, so please keep it up. Yes. All right. So once again, our contact information for this podcast is LSPUSA-Podcast@gmail.com. This is God Calling Vocation Vibes. I'm Sister Carolyn, and we are speaking with some of our wonderful residents from the Little Sisters of the Poor in Connecticut. Marge, I would like to ask you a question. Since you're the mother of a priest and you've dealt a lot with priests and seminarians and so forth, sometimes when young men are discerning or feel that nudge in their hearts that maybe they're called to a priestly vocation or a vocation to be a deacon, vocation to be a brother, they may feel like they're not good enough. They're kind of hesitant, because we think of a priest or other consecrated person as very holy, and that is indeed the call of all of our lives, the Christian laity as well. But what would be your advice to a young man who has some gifts that he would like to give, but he's not sure that he's really worthy?
I would say for him to contact that vocation director and tell him what his thoughts are. He's not alone. I'm sure many of a priest or a deacon all had that little calling, that little feeling in their heart. It was God calling them, but everyone thinks that they're not worthy, but God only picks the best. So I would say to him, if you're hearing from God, He wants you. At least find out if you want to do it. it's not a bad thing if you don't want to do it. You know, if you find out it's not for you, at least when you get older, you can say, I thought I wanted to be a religious, but after discerning it, it wasn't for me. But then you'll find out what you're really meant to do sometime. Or sometime it works just the opposite. People think they're set in their job, and all of a sudden they have that feeling that they should go into the priesthood or religious. And it works out. Sometimes it's for the best. You have to really not ignore that feeling. Follow it through. Whatever help you need. There's help out there, whether the vocation director, your parish priest. Just go find it and help yourself, because you'll never be sorry. When you get older, you can look back, and if you're a priest, you say, I went all the way, and if you're not, then God had something else planned for you. You'll find it out.
Yes, that's such good advice, because when one inquires about priesthood, about seminary, about religious formation, it's not signing on the dotted line. It's opening the door to Christ and saying, I am willing to learn about this, to take a look, to take a listen, and to experience what you have for me, and through this to hopefully discern what my true vocation is. So even for those who discern that it is not their vocation, but they've been through some formation, and during their discernment, they are enriched for life with all the graces and blessings that they've received. But really, there are so many out there whom God is calling, and people talk about a lack of vocations, but you know, there's really not a lack of vocations, because God would not shortchange his church. He puts the call in hearts, but he needs people to give him a chance to open that door, to listen, and to learn about the possibility, and maybe to take the courage to step forward and give it a try and see if that's what God wants. So thank you for that good advice, Marge. And Brother Jeff, I'd like to ask you, after many years as a religious brother, what has been the greatest joy of your vocation as a brother?
Being with people.
That's true.
Being with people. I love being with people in everyday life. I really do. And I always say there's not enough people in my life. There really isn't. I mean, I have my days, but I'm just saying, being with people, I love people. I love being joyful with people, and that's my gift. I like that.
That is
really
truly
do.
a gift that you have.
I mean, I like being with people. I can't help it. You hear me all the time, every morning. No, here he comes again.
He's the first one up in the morning, and he checks things out downstairs, and he's at the front desk checking the news, and yeah, he's all around lifting people's hearts. So, and it was your love for people that first helped you to feel drawn to community. You've shared with me before.
I like being sociable, is in other words what I'm trying to say. I like being sociable.
Yes, and that's a beautiful gift that God has given you. So the joy of being able to live with people and also to serve people would be, is that what I understand correctly, the twofold great joy of your vocation of religious brotherhood. And
Amen.
Yes, and for those who want to know more about religious brotherhood, do check out our episode, Brothers to All, and learn about that beautiful vocation. So now, Dot, we come back to you. So you've lived at St. Joseph's for several years now, and you've seen the Little Sisters of the Poor in action. What would be your advice to a young woman who is thinking about becoming a religious sister?
I would tell her I couldn't imagine a more beautiful vocation. I watch the Little Sisters. They love what they're doing. They take care of us with a lot of love. They provide everything we need, including entertainment. And yeah, I think being a sister would be a marvelous thing. I thought about it when I was young and came very close. So if there isn't anything more beautiful, I don't think, than you can do is have that vocation to become a nun, to love God. And like I said, they do enjoy each other
We
at
do.
St. Joseph's. They have a good time together. And yeah, they're enviable. They're so much fun. Really. It's a wonderful thing. And yeah, God bless those people who are lucky enough to have that vocation.
Yes.
It is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you may never have thought that God might be calling you, but we have so many happy religious women and so many happy little sisters of the poor who never dreamt they'd ever be called. But somehow God revealed to them that that was their vocation. And it may have been through a nudge in the heart. It may have been with more intellectual discernment, although both are needed. But they discovered the beautiful surprise that he had for them. And Marge, like we've said, you've lived at Little Sisters and worked with Little Sisters of the Poor for a very long time. And I'm sure you have some observations and maybe some advice in regard to young women and becoming a religious sister or becoming a Little Sister of the Poor specifically.
Yes. When I first started to work for the nuns, I couldn't believe how happy they always were. They would never walk around with a long face and something bothered them. They were happy. And when we had our 25th anniversary, all of us waited because we had a chance to see the convent. So we waited for 9 o'clock and we said, we're going to see what makes the nuns so happy. We went into the convent. There was nothing special. Each sister had a bed, a chair, and a habit in her closet. What made the people happy, we finally found out it was the people they took care of. They were so happy when they made someone happy. They were so happy when they took care of someone. I remember the times when there were really sick people. My husband was one of them. And the sisters would feed them and cheer them up. And when my husband was really sick, he always sang, Michael rowed the boat ashore to the grandchildren. So they came in and he was really sick and they said, Grandpa, do you remember when you sang Michael rowed the boat ashore? Well, when you're really sick, there's always a sister staying with you. And the little sister that was staying with my husband started singing it, and the boys started singing it, and he had the biggest smile on his face, as sick as he was. They always make you feel good, always make you feel happy, think of you first before themselves. That's what I loved about the sisters, and that's why I'm here. I've been here about 7 or 8 years already.
As a
so-
resident.
Yeah.
Yes.
I also, if I could say something, I also like the idea, and it really impressed me. I had a very close friend of mine who was passing away, and I was amazed how everybody got together. All the nuns I'm talking about got together and prayed over him. That impressed me. Mother, all the way down, every little nun. And I thought that really, I said, this is where the heart is of the whole thing. I'm hoping making myself understood. This is where the heart is, right there. Oh, we live together and we complain, well, you know, which is normal, but I'm just saying that that's where the heart is. That's all I want to say. I want to make sure I get that in.
True, true. Thank you for bringing that out, because truly is a sacred thing. There's so much joy in the house, but when someone is going home to God, we're still family. And after they've gone to the Father's house, we're still family. We love and accompany one another, either physically or in prayer. And it's a very, very beautiful thing. So thank you for bringing that out, brother. Mm-hmm. Yes. We actually have 4 young women staying at our house right now. We have a summer service program, but the program can be done at any time of the year, really, and young women will come and stay for a few weeks, 6 weeks, a summer, a gap year, and we have some of each of those with us now, and they get to serve and pray and rejoice with the sisters and the residents, and it's a way of giving of themselves, growing in their faith and in the human virtues, but also discerning their vocation. It comes with no strings attached. It's just an opportunity to serve with sisters. And so we have these lovely young women, and they're just amazing. They're people of prayer, they're people of joy, and hopefully God will bless some of them with a vocation to the consecrated life. But we also need vocations to holy marriage as well, because that's where our vocations come from, is holy families practicing their faith.
Yes.
So, are there any final comments before we wrap up? I've appreciated everything that you've contributed, and so proud of our wonderful residents, just like they're proud of all the wonderful young people out there. So, our next episode, this is the time of the Eucharistic Revival, and our next episode is going to be about the Eucharist and vocations, because for many, many young people, and I say young because 28 is the average age for people to enter formation for priesthood or religious life, consecrated life, and so a lot of the people discerning are young people. And many young people out there discerning find great grace and peace and light in Eucharistic adoration and in Holy Mass. So I would encourage that practice among anyone who is discerning. But for our next episode, we'll be welcoming Sister Therese Marie of the Eucharist, and she has a very precious story, her vocation story, and she will also talk about how the Eucharist has helped her come closer to the Lord and discern her call. So I hope that you will join us. And I want to thank Marge, I want to thank Brother Jeff, I want to thank Dot for all that they've contributed today. The seniors really are a wellspring of wisdom, and as one of our elderly sisters said, Sister Gertrude Marie, she just celebrated her 75th Jubilee, 75 years of consecrated religious life. And I said to her, Sister Gertrude Marie, what would be your advice to a young woman who is out there discerning the possibility of becoming a little sister of the poor, becoming a consecrated religious? And she said, if you want to be happy, come. So I think those were really words of wisdom. Thank you to Sister Gertrude Marie, to our precious elders, to the young people out here who make us so happy, and to God, who is the inspiration for all vocations. We will be praying for all of you who are listening to or watching this podcast, and for your own journey with Jesus. May He be with you. God bless you.